once again targeted residential areas in Yemeni capital Sana'a, Taiz and Saada provinces. The airstrikes destroyed homes and killed dozens of civilians. Many more were seriously injured after being locked under the debris of their houses for long hours. The Saudi air campaign on Yemen comes as the UN said that the 18-month-old conflict has claimed the lives of over 10,000 people. The UN said it doesn't have an accurate way to record the toll, but is sure of one thing, that the number is much higher. This is Muhammad, who has lost 18 of his family members in a Saudi airstrike. The raid targeted a wedding party in the Mar province.
Now I play at my room and remember my sister, how we used to play together. I remember that she was a very nice person. Once I start to forget her, I see her games, I directly remember her.
Even those who survive Saudi airstrikes do not fare better, as air raids have destroyed almost all sources of livelihood across the country.
I am not an employee with a fixed salary. I have lost my only source of income. I do not know what to do now to provide my big family with the money. It's a heinous crime to target people's investments and businesses.
According to official estimations, less than 10% of Yemen's businesses and factories are currently working, as many of them have been destroyed or have been forced to shut down and fire their workers.
Apart from factories, we have information about nearly 2,000 markets and workshops that have been leveled to the ground in Saudi attacks. Over 2,000 contractors have also lost their jobs and become bankrupt.
In a press conference held on Tuesday, United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator in Yemen, Jamie McDullough, called for the immediate resumption of commercial flights to Sana'a airport. He said there is acute need of food and medicine. He warned that the civilian death toll may well go beyond the current figures if Saudi Arabia keep the airport closed. Mohammed Al-Tab, Press TV, Sana'a.
This guy was very effective at recruiting terrorists, at propaganda. He was also a top strategic and organizational leader. So how much of a blow to ISIS is this?
Well, in my view, Greg, this was the greatest blow to Islamist terror since the SEALs killed bin Laden. Others may not agree. But to me, al-Adnani was a genius. The head of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, had a regional vision. But al-Adnani took it global. And, you know, to me, he was a combination of, he was there Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, and Karl Marx rolled into one. And let me explain that. He was there dark world Walt Disney, in the sense that al-Adnani, with all these beheading videos and other atrocities,
right,
he knew what his audience wanted before the audience knew.
Right.
I compare it to Steve Jobs because he realized the incredible possibilities of electronic media, and finally Karl Marx, because this guy had really dumb ideas and still found a global following.
His communications skill were far superior to anybody in the terrorism world. He would issue, for example, these edicts to lone wolf attacks on Westerners. You know, just pick one guy out. Here's one of his messages: smash his head with a rock, slaughter him with a knife, run him over with your car, throw him down from a high place, choke him, poison him. He was influential, was he not, in precipitating some key homegrown attacks in Western countries?
Indeed he was. I mean, he was a visionary, and al-Adnani was a multitasker. I mean, he was a spokesman, but he was also the brains behind these videos. He was a master of rhetoric. I mean, the excerpt you just read, Greg, to us it sounds, well, that's crazy, that's nutty. But to the youngish, mentally dislocated, socially dislocated
right,
young males he's trying to reach, boy, what he offered with those beheading videos and the mass shootings, and lately boiling captives alive,
right,
that just went right to the testosterone gone awry among the
So now the
activists.
question now is there a power vacuum here for this particular key role? And you know, we've come to believe over the years that there's always 10 guys ready to take the place of one who goes down. But is there somebody, a low-level official, who has these kind of skills?
Well, Greg, that's the crucial question. And the answer is we don't know. Now, some terrorist positions, operational commanders, field leaders, unless they're particularly charismatic individuals, they can be replaced. But when you look at al-Adnani's combination of vision and skills, it's going to be tough. There may be another genius waiting in the wings to come up and take it a step farther, but I would see him, honestly, as harder to replace than al-Baghdadi himself, the chief of ISIS.
Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, good to see you. Thank you.
South Korea may respond to North Korea's recent submarine-launched ballistic missile tests with the introduction of nuclear-powered submarines, if conservative lawmakers get their way. The subs would be able to stay underwater indefinitely, making them more capable of tracking North Korean subs. But experts warn Seoul's deployment of nuclear-powered subs will only lead to less security. China will increase its number of nuclear-powered submarines, and so will Russia. Japan is a major player that is yet to own a nuclear-powered submarine, and it will use the same logic to arm itself with one. In essence, it will cause a continuing arms race in East Asia. The U.S. may be fueling an Asian arms race with new contracts announced this month for destroyer upgrades for both South Korean and Japanese fleets. South Koreans worry about the effectiveness of such weapons deployments and their impact on regional affairs.
If South Korea deploys such submarines, they are very likely to get attacked by North Korea's undetectable torpedoes. And as with THAAD, the submarines will lead to economic sanctions from China. So I am opposed to them as well.
South Korean hawks also favor developing nuclear weapons, with a recent forum of lawmakers outlining Seoul going nuclear. But moves for the military use of nuclear technology may be complicated by a 1991 pledge with North Korea to remain nuke-free, and a 2015 deal with the U.S. on developing nuclear technology. The South Korean Defense Ministry has taken a low-key stance on the hawkish lawmakers' push for the country to develop nuclear-powered submarines. But the country's intentions to use nuclear technology for military purposes on the volatile Korean peninsula is sure to attract international attention. Frank Smith, Press TV, Seoul.
Oh, breaking now, the Islamic State announcing its spokesman and chief strategist has been killed. The Pentagon says this man was the target of an airstrike, but hasn't confirmed that they got him. John Huddy has more from our Mideast Bureau. John?
Yeah, Mohammed al-Adnani, the U.S. says it's assessing those reports, but now Russia posted the Russian Ministry of Defense on its Facebook page saying that it took out al-Adnani. Whatever the case, though, the ISIS-affiliated Al-Agmaq news agency, as it's called, reports that al-Adnani died in the Aleppo province in Syria, quote, surveying the operations to repel the military campaigns against Aleppo, really ISIS's de facto capital there. Now, al-Adnani was the mouthpiece, really, of ISIS, calling for attacks by lone wolf attackers, ISIS supporters against Westerners and Europeans, saying at one point in the speech back in September 2014, if you can't shoot them, then stab them, and if you can't stab them, then run them over or bash their heads in with rocks. That, he's saying to ISIS supporters. Now, Pentagon spokesman Peter Cook said that al-Adnani's removal from the battlefield would mark another significant blow to ISIL, another name for ISIS, as it loses ground in Syria and Iraq, as we're seeing. But Cook added that the reports are still being assessed, as I said at the top of this. The Pentagon acknowledges that al-Adnani was the target of an airstrike. And I mentioned Russia. Well, Russia's Ministry of Defense posted on its Facebook page that a Russian bomber carried out the airstrike that killed al-Adnani. Whatever the case, his death, Jenna, would be significant. The U.S. had a $5 million bounty on his head. He was at the top of the U.S.'s kill list as far as ISIS leaders go. And really, Jenna, the question now is, if he is indeed dead, who will take his place? Will it be somebody even more vicious? Jenna, back to you.
John, thank you.
New information in a bizarre shooting case in Oklahoma where police arrested 34-year-old Valerie Fowler for assault with a deadly weapon. Why? Well, she shot and wounded a 31-year-old man she found in her 16-year-old daughter's bedroom. Now, the daughter says the victim comes to the house at least 3 times a week when her mother is at work. She said they were in bed kissing when her mother kicked in the bedroom door, telling investigators her mom shot him once when he was trying to get out of bed and again as he walked to the front door. Now she has been charged. Joining us now, Wendy Patrick, a veteran prosecutor and trial attorney, and Diana Eisman, former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney as well. Welcome to both of you. So the charges filed against the mother, Wendy, is that appropriate in a case like this?
Well, John, regarding what's appropriate, you know, what investigators have to look at is what facts and circumstances were available to the mother. It's kind of the same way we analyze a police shooting after the fact. What did she see? What did she hear? What did she know? Surely she's not the first parent to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend in a teenager's bedroom. But did the mother know this was going on? In other words, was it a defense of others? Was it a scenario where she honestly thought her daughter was in danger? We don't have any facts and circumstances, hardly at all yet, because this hasn't gone to a preliminary hearing, for example, where we get to hear all of that. So it's hard to say at this point because we're not privy to all of the facts that the prosecutors had before they brought charges.
We contacted the local sheriff and the local police chief this morning to get some more details about the investigation because there are a lot of holes in the story right now, and it's difficult to know. But we are told that the mother had met this guy before. But he's 31 years old, Diana, in the bedroom of a 16-year-old girl. Mom kicks the door down. We do know that there's a stepfather who also lives in the house. He had also gone to work when this happened. Can any of this be justified in front of a jury of 12 people?
It's going to be really difficult to prove self-defense, and that is an affirmative defense that's going to be on the defense to present that she had a reasonable fear for her daughter's safety or for her own safety. And I think the fact that she's met this person before is extremely problematic for her defense. That being said, this is a 31-year-old man in the bedroom of a 16-year-old girl. That in and of itself could be a crime.
Yeah, I mean, it was described originally as a home invasion, that she found an intruder in her bedroom, Diana, in her daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
If she's met him before, if he's been over there before, maybe mom didn't know he's been over there before, but she had met him. Could she still call him an intruder, say she didn't know who was in there with her kid?
Oh, sure, absolutely. If there's a 31-year-old man in the bedroom of my 16-year-old daughter, I would be terrified and understandably so would want to chase him out of there. Now, whether or not she needed to fire a shot while he was running for the door, that's really going to depend on the facts that come out, as Wendy said during the preliminary hearing, whether or not he actually took any steps to cause more of a threat, or if she was just essentially in her rage trying to harm him physically.